Hi there. So this is the first video series for Project 2 in our section. And the first thing I want to do is just make sure we all know where to find the new student uploads folder now that we will no longer be using the Google Drive. So first thing you need to do is log into Office. So this is Microsoft 365. And you'll see all the different apps you have, Outlook, which is your primary CUNY email, and OneDrive, which has a bunch of space in it. So also where you can find your Microsoft apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. All right, so just be sure to go into OneDrive, click your files, just like we did with the Google Drive, and then you'll see our folder right at the top, and you can click Project 2 for the prompt, for the class example from today, and the Weaving Grids tutorial. I know it was a little challenging for everyone to get the size right and to get the symmetry, just so that our grid can be, an accurate, true grid. So yeah, we can continue moving on. Just be sure to have that all in front of you. What I would like to do is make sure that we're looking at our grid that we worked on today. So I'm just going to download it. I emailed it to myself. I think that's a good idea for you all to do as well. I'm going to save this image to my desktop right now. Grid. All right, and so what we're going to do is take the grid that we made in class. This is my little example. This 1/4 inch actually is supposed to be a 1/2 inch, but that's okay as long as I know that. And then just open Rhino. All right, so I'm going to open the file that I did in class, just to reference. Again, that's in Project 2 folder. Downloads, class example. All right. So I know that I downloaded the photo of my grid, so I'm just going to type in picture and insert the picture that I just downloaded. All right, this way I have it nicely on my Rhino screen. Just keep in mind that this, like just for this demonstration, this is supposed to be a 1/4 inch. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a 1/2 inch. So I'm just gonna label it correctly. All right. Just to avoid any type of confusion. Okay. So first thing we need to do is model our grid lines. Our intervals range from a 1/4 inch to 1 inch. Should be no more, no less. With the strips of paper that we cut in class today, not every piece of paper is going to be totally accurate. But you need to do is have a general idea of what is a 1/4 inch, what is a 1/2 inch, what is 3/4 and 1 inch. Add it all up and make sure that both directions are 5 inches. Okay, it cannot exceed 5 inches. All right, and you'll see that in the prompt. All right, so this is the next step that we're going to go over in Rhino. And basically, you're just going to make a bunch of these groupings from your grid, and you're going to see what type of spaces you get out of it. So, the first thing you're going to do is make sure that you have your 5 inch square drawn. And I'm just using my gumball tool and copying it downward. And I would like everyone to have this type of grid axis so that you know where your axis of symmetry is. All right, because we are working in patterns, whatever I do in this quadrant is going to be the same in this quadrant and this quadrant. Okay? So if I had a line here, let me make sure I'm in the layer that I want to be in. I'm going to be in the x-axis. All right, so if I had 1 inch this way, and it's one, then another one, and then if I did 0.25, oh, wrong way, 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch. I basically only need to copy these two lines. All right, so I'm selecting them. You can hold down Shift and select, and then type in mirror. I'm going to mirror right over my mirror plane. And as we know, because this is 5 inches, the mirror plane is at 2.5 inches. All right, and that's for both directions. All right, I'm just going to change these layers. Um, so it matches. Yep, great. Okay, so once we have our one woven grid, then you go into the next one. So I'm just going to go into my Y layer. And based on the model that, based on the grid that you've made in class, maybe this is zero point 0.5, and maybe this is 0.75. Maybe I'll go 1 inch, and then I'll just mirror that. All right, next step is to just check my dimensions and see what this came out to. So it's 1/4 inch, 3/4, oh, I'm sorry, 1 inch, 3/4, and a 1/2 inch. All right, and that is exactly the same as right here. 1.75, 3/4, and then 0.5, a half. All right, so again, we're using this nice little axis of symmetry to help us out with our pattern. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the grid that I initially started in class. And again, it's much easier to reference your picture if it's inside Rhino. And I'm just going to start drawing lines. So I want to go to a new layer, different from the grid that I created, just so that I can see the contrast. And I'm going to continue drawing polylines. All right, so I typed in polyline, and I'm going to make this happen like that. Okay, so I wouldn't exactly say that this is very exciting, but that's okay because I can make a different grid exciting. So planar surface, to just close those up, and I'm going to continue. I'll actually move this out of my way because I like to keep everything aligned. So I'm making 5 of these grid interpretations. All right, so now this time I think I'm gonna stay along the perimeter for a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna select my curve, type in planar surface, and already it's a little bit more interesting. So I'm gonna fill in a few more. Planar surface. And if I know I'm just making a regular rectangle, I can just type in rectangle. Then you do not need to type anything into the command bar. Just automatically goes to the command bar when you're typing. All right. And so now you see I have 2 different series of shapes. All right, the goal is to make it, a little bit more interesting so that we can start imagining different planes for walking and sitting and sheltering, things like that. All right, so maybe this time I wanted to create a type of cradle. All right, and maybe I wanted to create this floating type of plane. All right, so I have a few more to make. So you're gonna continue this. It's completely your design. So whatever you'd like to see, I want you to go for it. All right, and I'm just making a few different twists here based on what I think might be a little interesting. All right, and for the last one, I think I'll make it boxy again, like I did in the first round. So maybe I'll do three here, one here, and maybe I will just cap this off. All right, so now you see that I have a series of five groupings. I'm not really happy with this first one that I did, so I'm going to change it up a little bit, and that's totally fine to change things around. It's your design, so if something doesn't make you happy, you do not need to live with it. All right, and maybe what I'll do actually is just adapt this line here. So what I'm gonna do is take this curve and just trim the original blue curve that I made. Okay, so now that I trimmed it, I'm going to join it, and now it's one surface. I mean one curve. Now it's a planar surface. All right, so now that we have our five shapes, um, yeah, just get to this point first, and then we'll start the next video.